I'm the most bannable 2-drop in Standard. Kira.
Hi, I'm the worst 1-drop that keeps managing to see play. Meia.
Morning.
Morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about Standard. I know.
I love it when we talk about Standard.
Okay, so the premise for this episode was basically that. Last year, as we had Worlds and we cruised out of the Standard experience, there was a lot of worry that the best deck was just going to be an Izzet spell-based synergy deck again. Right, this was just going to be the great and powerful Izzet metagame once more. Because we saw it at Worlds, right, where I think it was 6 of the top 8 decks, or 7 of the top 8 decks were blue-red X decks between Otters and Lessons and Looting and Splash Portal. And there was some real, there was some real teeth sucking, some real collar pulling, that we can see how this is going to go wrong.
Yep.
And so this was sort of a how are we looking in the new year?
I mean, to be fair, there was a very brief kind of there's 3 different Izzet decks that are all really good. That's not great. And as we've said on the pod before, thankfully they are all quite different. Like Izzet Prowess, Izzet Looting, and Izzet Lessons are all different decks at their core. Same color, a lot of the same bones, but the muscle of the deck is quite different. But it does seem like things have mellowed out a little bit.
I was going to say, I have good news. Standard is awesome right now.
Yeah,
Standard is incredibly cool. So I'm not sure if you had a look, but there are basically what I am calling 10 real decks, real in the biggest possible air quotes. And because we have had a couple of Standard events, we had the Spotlight series most importantly, but we've had a couple of online challenges and stuff like that. And the metagame is really interesting.
It's really diverse right now.
It really is. And the quote-unquote best deck is less than 15% of the metagame.
Yeah, it's not only is it, and this is, hilariously, not only is it, it's not actually is it. The best deck is actually, best deck is Simic or a Boraid right now, I believe.
Yeah, it's the Simic aggro deck.
But interestingly, I feel like that percentage representation fluctuates quite a bit. And so you still have, the best deck, quote unquote, is just what the most people play at an event. And that fluctuates between Simic aggro / Ouroboros, Bant airbending, and Izzet. Most prominently those 3.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's not inherently not in the same way as with the Corey Steelcutter meta or the VV Cauldron meta. There's not explicitly this is hands down unequivocally the best deck in Standard right now. It all kind of fluctuates.
There's nothing even close to that, I think, which is so exciting. So kind of the tier 1-ish decks. Simic or a Boraid? Izzet Lessons? Izzet Looting? Mono Green Landfall? Jeskai Control? And there's one other deck that I am... and Sultai Reanimator, of course.
Of course.
So for those of you keeping count, that's one of each major archetype. We've got an aggro deck. We've got a synergy control deck. We've got a true control deck. We've got a combo deck. We've got a mid-range deck. Give me mid-range is the other one. There's something for everyone. And then if you go down even further and you start to look at the mono red, the ban airbending, the green X landfall decks. So this is Celestia landfall and Gruul landfall and stuff like that. And even a little bit of Golgari midrange.
There's a lot happening right now.
Not only is the metagame diverse, it's diverse in play style. It's diverse in deck density and Standard is so cool right now.
We'll put the Spotlight series metagame up on the screen, but the highest percentage is 15.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen that in a really long time. I feel like the last few times we were revisiting either Pro Tours or Spotlight series events, the top most played deck was above 20% and usually closer to 30%. And that was bad. There was even one particular event where the top 2 decks combined made 50% of the meta.
Yep.
And it was like, yeah, well, bummer. Bummer. 1 out of 2 times you're going to play one of these 2 decks. Unfortunate.
That's not the case.
And that's not the case.
You can queue up for 10 different games and be reasonably likely to play 10 different decks, all of which are good.
Yeah, and it was also like the difference between, it wasn't as though the most played deck was 15% and then it fell off to like 5% for everything else. It was like 15, 12, 9, 9, 8, 8, 7, 6, 6, 6, 5. Like it was so spread out. And then there was even, I think the other deck percentage at the very, very bottom was 27%. Awesome. I love it when other is the biggest is the biggest category.
Yeah, Standard's really cool right now. And there's also, just to add the cherry on top, there are also a bunch of really cool fringe-ish decks that are performing really well.
Like what?
Well, funny you should ask. Orzhov. No, I'm kidding.
I was going to be like, surely you're about to say either Orzhov or Esper Pixie.
I think like Pixie is fine. If you want to play Pixie, play Pixie. The deck's still powerful. The deck I'm talking about is actually like Beifong Landfall combo.
You mentioned this on a previous episode.
This deck's very cool.
Yeah.
This deck is using...
This is your Bloodghast deck, right?
Yeah, Bloodghast, Umbral Collar Zealot, and Beifong Bounty Hunters to go infinite, essentially. So the way it works is Beifong Bounty Hunter says whenever a non-land creature dies, Earthbend X where X is its power, and you have Bloodghast and you sacrifice a Bloodghast, which lets you Earthbend, and now you have a land creature. Then you sacrifice the land creature to Umbral Collar Zealot and Earthbend triggers, and the land enters play, and the Bloodghast comes back. And then you loop it. And then you have a bunch of graveyard recursion with like Overlord of the Balemerc and Dredges in sight.
Sure.
And you get to play some number of Nature's Rhythm. And a deck's just kind of good. And you get to go off. You can go off over a number of removal spells equivalent to the number of creatures you have.
Sure.
Because Umbral Collar Zealot is at instant speed. This deck is very cool. And it's the deck I'm into. Meia enjoys degenerate, hard to interact with combo deck. Oh, crazy. Imagine.
Fork Fountain Kitchen.
Yeah, deck is really cool. I will say it's not very good right now because there is a lot of graveyard hate going around for Sultai Reanimator. And this incidentally gets hit by a lot of that graveyard hate and is not necessarily able to mid-range through in the same way that Sultai Reanimator does. Like, sometimes Sultai Reanimator just plays a bunch of 2 mana and 3 mana 2/3s, and because your opponent's deck is full of like Soul Guide Lanterns, that's just good enough. This deck doesn't really have that out, but it is very cool and good. And there's all sorts of stuff hiding below the surface. Simic Omniscience is making a bit of a resurgence, which is cool. There's so much good nonsense you can be doing. Do good nonsense.
Yeah, I'm really happy. I am sitting on my laurels a little bit because I was in the shop the other day, literally yesterday.
Amazing.
And
as you are known to be.
As I am known to be. And I was mentioning offhandedly, like some people, I was chatting with some people about Standard, and I was talking about how healthy the metagame is, and the breakdown of like Spotlight series was really good. And they looked at me and they went, yeah, but Badger Mole is a 4 of amongst so many of those decks. And I just was like, it's so funny you should say that.
I mean, kind of. If you look at the top 10 decks I just spoke about, 6 of them are either Badger Mole Cub decks or Storm Chasers Talent decks.
Yeah.
That's 6 out of 10. And that's the 2 most powerful engines in the format, right? There is a lot of non-Badger Mole Cub, non-Storm Chasers Talent things you can be doing in this format, and they're good and they're competitive and they're viable.
Interestingly, I haven't finished watching all of the Spotlight series event, but one of the things that was talked about the most is how many of the Is It Looting decks specifically have taken Storm Chasers Talent out because they just don't want another creature that their opponents can favorably interact with. They would rather all of their opponents' cards in their hand that are creature removal or creature counterspells remain unusable.
Yeah, line up badly against toughness numbers.
Yeah, well, or even just like a lot of the Is It Looting stuff doesn't play creatures. Like one of the few creatures it plays is Fear of Missing Out. But other than that, it's really just Monument to Endurance and Artist Talent and then a bunch of draw discard spells. And if you're up against a, Black X mid-range deck that has a lot of creature interaction and creature removal, you don't want to give them a way to use their cards, right? You'd rather just have them, yeah, cool, you've got an Unrequiting Hex. I have no creatures. It's not going to work. But it's really interesting how that deck has changed. But yeah, I think I'm a little bit smug just also because we so recently just did this whole episode of me ranting about Badger Mole Cub. But I'm going to be really interested. Again, we need to be patient. Lorwyn has just come out. We need to be patient and see what
there's
happens.
Another good removal spell for Badger Mole Cub.
There's another good removal for Badger Mole Cub. We need to just be a little bit more patient.
There's two. You can spell snare it.
You can spell snare it. Guys, it's so free. You can spell snare your opponent's Badger Mole Cub, and you're not getting 3-for-1 anymore. It's awesome. But I think we need to give things time to settle. And as much as that might frustrate people in the realm of, I didn't want to wait for Vivi. I knew it was busted the whole time. I didn't want to wait for Corey Steelcutter. It's like it still doesn't change the fact that we need the information. We need the data. Unless you would like to start working at Wizards designing cards, we need a little bit more information. We need a little bit more. We need to test a little bit more. We need a little bit more information. We can't just be so hasty to, snap off bans as much as we might know that they're correct or know that they're inevitable.
I'm still not with you on this one. I don't think that it is reasonable to ban a card just because it is powerful. I think it has to warp the metagame in a way that is unhealthy for it broadly. Mm-hmm. And the metagame right now is healthy.
Well,
yes. It's healthy and it's happy. And if this is how it remains, then let Badger Mole Cub thrive, I say.
Leave the baby alone.
Leave the little baby alone.
It's just a baby.
He's just
because historically, again, looking at things like Vivi and Corey Steelcutter, and even looking back further to Reckoner, Bankbuster, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, Invoke Despair, the reason that those bans happened is because they absolutely destroyed and warped the format. Like, when Grixis midrange was the only deck that people played in, the Streets of New Capenna, Kamigawa, Neon Dynasty standard, misery. Just nothing but corpse appraisers and bankbusters and wanting to affect the trout population. It's definitely not the same. I think there is still some merit to how many different decks are able to play Badger Mole Cub and are able to play Badger Mole Cub with success and with a high win percentage. But no, I don't believe we are at the critical overload, critical mass stage yet.
Yeah.
It's something to keep an eye on.
Llanowar Elves is also played in a bunch of decks.
It's
also quite powerful.
Hang on. Meia, I've figured out what the problem is. There's this card called Steam Vents that everyone's playing in their deck.
Yeah, it's kind of busted. Ban Steam Vents. I'm on team ban Steam Vents. I don't know about you.
It's interesting.
Preemptive ban? Let's make it happen.
What's when they did that to Lutri?
Yeah.
When they preemptively, they were like, okay, we see it now.
Yep.
Banned.
It's banned a month before it releases. Don't worry about it.
Guys, just chill out. But Spotlight series looked really, really good. The few matches that I've watched have been really interesting. It's really cool. Standard is in a really good spot right now. It makes me really excited for all of the next events that are coming. All of the future SCG Con Spotlight Series events, the next Pro Tours. I'm hungry for it.
I will say, I'm gonna put on my doomsaying hat a little bit right now.
Your doomsday excruciator.
Exactly. My crown of orbs.
Proceed.
Play Standard now before the Pro Tour would be my recommendation. If you're jamming on Arena and you're like, oh, should I not play Standard? Play it now. Don't wait for 2 weeks. And the reason being is that Pro Tours historically are very format homogenizing. And there is going to be the classic Pro Tour winning deck will be 35% of the metagame for the next 3 weeks. That is just kind of how that works, even if it's not correct. And while the metagame is diverse right now, the pros are not bringing out the deck they think is the best for a Spotlight series. They're bringing it out for the Pro Tour because they don't want to share that sort of information. So, and I will be very interested to see how much I am mea culpaing about Badger Mole Cub after the Pro Tour, but now is the most opportune time to play Badger Mole Cub, and also to play Standard in general. So if you're gonna do it, get on it. Like, Standard is awesome fun right now. Play it with your friends, play it online. And like, we're obviously biased, but play Standard. It's really cool.
The reason as well that playing before a Pro Tour, because a Pro Tour is so format homogenizing, because people love net decking and people love taking the most winningest deck or one of the most winningest decks and just playing it. The reason why these decks also just are breakout so powerful is you have some of the smartest, most brilliant, most experienced Magic players on teams who are working really, really hard to figure out what exactly is the most busted version of X deck. Sure, we have Bant Airbending. Is there a more busted version that like hasn't yet been unlocked? You know, there's a lot of development that goes into these decks. Like, one of the reasons that Domain Overlords was so incredibly powerful is was that Team Channel Fireball on that one?
Maybe.
It was
know.
A very, very good team that was on, because like that was Matt Nass was that pilot. And
but that deck had existed before that Pro Tour. Right?
It had existed before that Pro Tour, but I think the way that, because there were still differences between their version and the other version, and I think that's like, you know, those 2% points are what make a deck, you know, Pro Tour winning. And being able to get in before the pros have put their mitts all over it and have, you know, shaped and molded the Play-Doh into the most winningest version of that deck gives you the best opportunity to test and to theorize and to kind of experiment in the Standard space. You know, if you want to, you know, something I really want to do right now is I really want to do Gruul aggro. Something that we didn't mention in our Lorwyn episode is Blossoming Defense is getting reprinted. That's a really good card.
That's pretty good.
1 green. Target creature gets +2/+2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. Untap it. Awesome.
We love Green Shore Up.
We love Green Shore Up. Like, I really want to play a Gruul aggro style deck again. I think that could be really, really fun. But there's a chance that if I want to play Gruul aggro in some fun way, I'm not going to be able to do it after Pro Tour because someone will have figured it out. Someone will have figured the metagame out. Someone will have figured out, you know, this green X deck is so good into Bant Ally, Simic Ouroboros, and Dimir midrange, and it knocks everything to the side.
Yeah. I will say as well, and a little bit on the like post-Pro Tour metagame point, don't stop innovating.
No.
Don't stop changing your decks and stuff like that. And there's this really cool thing that's been happening that I think is really demonstrative of how good iterating can be, and it's the poison dart frog effect.
Okay.
So if you are unfamiliar, very recently there have been a series of events where people have been putting unplayable cards in their sideboard as like a friend, as a companion that they just bring out, and it keeps them company during the game.
Love that.
It's incredible. It would, like, one was a poison dart frog, and I think in Is It Lessons or something.
I do remember this.
And I think then there was a big modern event where somebody had a Tifa Lockhart or something like that.
Sure.
And it shows you how unimportant that 15th sideboard slot is, in the sense that losing small amounts of percentage points to explore, you know, whether or not certain like synergy elements are good, or to put new cards in your deck, is not going to necessarily cost you an event, right? Playing Magic good and understanding your deck good is probably the most important part of like winning at any event, getting that win rate up, and losing a little bit of percentage points by not having a 15th sideboard card gives you a little bit of license to just be a bit free with it. And maybe it doesn't have to be a poison dart frog, but maybe it's that like one weird 3-mana sorcery that you've been thinking about and you're like, maybe this is good. Maybe I should just play a getaway glamour or whatever.
This is me when I was like, Singularity Rupture looks so awesome. And Ben Tudman was like, that is the most unplayable 6-mana card I've ever seen.
Yep. But
and he was right. He was right.
You got to try it. Pro Tour decks are built also for Pro Tours, right? And that is a very different metagame.
Okay, it is so great that you say that. This is actually something that I seriously believe in when it comes to people watching a Pro Tour and then going, well, I don't want to go to my LGS and play because the metagame is going to be this. The Pro Tour metagame is not your LGS's metagame. There are going to be people who net deck. There are going to be people who watched Pro Tour. There are going to be people who watched Pro Tour and looked at the winningest deck and they want to play the winningest deck. And you can avoid those people. But that is not 100% of the people who attend your LGS. That is not 100% of the people who attend your weekly standard events. There are plenty of people. I have said this before. A lot of our standard metagame at Plenty of Games was Boros Mice for a really long time. Is anyone playing Boros Mice at Pro Tour?
Maybe that's a breakout. Maybe we have enough kindred support now that Boros Mice is making a comeback.
But my point being...
Caught by a hero be damned.
My point being that just because this is the most winningest deck on the Pro Tour stage doesn't mean that your local metagame is 100% going to reflect that.
Almost certainly not.
And so...
Who has money for a Pro Tour deck every time the Pro Tour comes out?
Exactly. And also... there are some people who aren't interested in net decking. There are some people who aren't necessarily invested in the evolution of Is It Lessons or the evolution of Bant Airbending. That Bant Airbending deck is currently so expensive. It is unbelievably expensive right now, and it's going to get more expensive when more shocks go into the mana base.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
It's a bunch of face legendary creatures from like the most recent universes.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like it's very expensive, but that doesn't have to be your deck. If you like Dimir midrange is fairly accessible right now, like because
$300. Because Mono red is like $250.
Yeah, and look, we are not ones. We don't talk about Magic Finance that much. That's not really what we're about.
We are not a Magic Finance podcast. We are ill-equipped to do Magic Finance advice.
And there are instances where it doesn't do. Like, it doesn't do to talk about how much cards cost because the secondary market is not real and it can't hurt you.
Cannot.
But the Pro Tour metagame is not necessarily your LGS's metagame. And you should feel empowered even just to try it once. Take your Boros Mice deck to your LGS. Have a go. Just try.
You'll catch some people by surprise.
Some people are going to be completely unawares, and they're not going to value your Flowerfoot Swordmaster as a threat until suddenly all of your mice are constantly very strong. Like, just, what's the harm? You know? Go do it for fun.
Play standard. You know what we always say?
Play
more
standard.
Magic, more of the time.
We are saying. We're going to share more Magic more of the time. Exactly. No, and so I'm excited for the next Pro Tour. This Spotlight series is a really good indicator and reminder that Standard is in a good spot right now. The mana bases are about to get so much better and so much more efficient. Standard is about to go sicko mode, and I'm really excited for what that looks like. I'm excited for the innovation, not only at the Pro Tour level, but just what people start playing. You know, some of your favorite content creators are constantly innovating, and they're constantly coming up with new decks. And, you know, Swayze recently did like a Naya tokens deck with Calamity, Galloping Inferno. Who would have thought?
Damn.
Like, it's really cool and really fun, and there's no point not to have a little bit of fun.
And with that said, that is all we have for you today. Our episodes release every week on Monday, 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. You can follow our releases at Raise MTG on both Instagram and Blue Sky. And you can find Kira and myself on the same platforms at Kira Bobira and at Meia MTG. A big thank you to the Hen House Recording Studios for the ongoing use of respects. And until next week, remember, When trespassing in Lanoa, one bone broken, for every twig snapped underfoot.